So for the final section of modelling this boot, you see here we've detached the sole, as you do, and if I look at that, let's give it a bit more creasing on our edges, so we can specify the edges we want to crease more, make sure that they're all creased to one. I could also put in more subdivisions if I wanted to create a harder edge. We've got our lace panels like that. Now this boot could do with redefining to say whether it's a left boot or a right boot, but what we're just going to move on to at this stage though is the laces themselves. So to create laces, we're just going to create something like these, and we're going to use the line tool because, as you know, if I take a line and have enable in render, enable in viewport, I can create a piece of geometry like that, with the great advantage that if I go to select verts, I can move it after, I can move individual verts after having made it in a flexible way like that. So the other thing with the line though is we want to be able to draw to snap to verts. So the 3D snap tool is very useful in this regard. So if I turn on my 3D snap tool, normally it's set to grid points. I'm just right clicking to access that, which means that with snap on, and if I draw a line, so create line with snap on, I can go from that point to that point on my grid. If I want to turn off the snap as I'm working, the shortcut S allows me to do that. So now I can do irregular work away from the grid. So what we're going to do though is we're going to switch that snap to grid off and turn on snap to vertex. So if I right click up here on the 3D snap button, I'm going to switch it from grid points to vertex. And now if I press S to bring up my snap and start drawing a line, you can see it's snapping to the verts of the boot, which is what we're going to want for creating the laces. So I'm going to start though with, we're going to start with snaps off, because I want to start with the lace along the base there, and I'm just going to hide the sole on the shoe just to see those edges there. So I'm going to start drawing, clicking and dragging on the ground, and now I'm going to go up to the top lace. I'm pressing S to turn on my snaps, so they're already on. So now I can click here and click here, so it's snapping to the verts in the geometry, and I can go down to wherever the next lace hole is going to be, and I'm just doing it approximately. I'm going to need to modify the positions of these afterwards. So we got, that's going from there to there, we're going down a lace and so on. So I'm making 2 verts per lace hole. So let's do something like that. That gives us half the way there. I might need to reposition some of these. So with the lace like that, obviously we can adjust the thickness of the lace and the auto smooth threshold. But now that we've done that, let's go and put an open subdiv on top of it. give it 2 iterations, and start positioning those verts in a better way. I'm also going to reveal the shoe once more, so as we're not putting laces penetrating the geometry there. So let's go, and now at vertex level on our lace, I must turn off my snaps, press S. At vertex level, I can show end result as I'm working. So at vertex level now, I can just line up those verts a little bit better. Selecting. So having 2 verts per lace hole means I can do stuff like this. I'm going to move the tongue of that boot back in a little bit further later on. So again, just selecting individual verts, pulling and pushing. We can, with a bit of care and attention, end up with reasonably acceptable laces. One thing to remember when you're doing all of this is that you are not creating a piece of engineering, you're creating an illusion. How close is your viewer going to need to get to your object? If they're going to be seeing it from a relatively broad distance, then you can get away with a little bit more inaccuracy. If they're going to be examining it at very close detail, you've got to make sure that it's more accurate. So I'm going to leave it at this. You get the principle. That's how you do laces. We've got our sole, we've got our laces, and we've got our boot.